as much pressure on to get as many people approved. Listen, I work for you. And the only people that I care about making sure get the very best are you. We're not going anywhere. This is going to be just as important as the rebuilding of any other place that's been damaged while I've been governor, and we're going to make sure you get the resources that you need. Good morning, everyone. We are back at the Emergency Operations Center to provide another update on the flooding we've been through as well as the severe weather. Before we get there, I want to take a moment to recognize how in Kentucky we always look out for our neighbors. And I've seen this once again in response to this natural disaster. You all inspire me. Every single time we face the worst, we see people band together, help each other out, and you just see the face of God in that moment where someone is mucking out their neighbor's house before they get to their own. This Commonwealth is full of good people here in the EOC that are helping, good people that are our first responders in our communities, and just good people helping their neighbors who have been knocked down. We are kind and we are compassionate people, even while we are as tough as they come. There are so many people to thank for their dedication and their hard work, from every single first responder, our Kentucky State Police, Kentucky National Guard, our transportation crew members, local police, fire, and EMS, and more. You are all heroes. Your efforts are saving lives, and all of Kentucky is forever grateful. The major news today is over the course of today, we'll be moving from our emergency search and rescue phase to what we call the stabilization phase. And we'll be finishing up most all of our search and wellness checks. We'll be winding down our USAR and Swiftwater boat teams and moving more into providing services for our families that have been harmed. Because of that, this will likely be our last formal press conference and update, and we'll be providing more information through press releases and on social media. I want to thank all the teams that are in from other states and other areas in our state that have been working so hard. Most of them, if they haven't wrapped up and headed home, will be doing so today. Now, for today's weather. Overnight, we did see light snowfalls in parts of central and western Kentucky, as well as freezing temperatures. But the good news is the rain and the snow are almost over. And for at least most of next week, it looks like we're going to be weather-free and a little bit warmer, or at least precipitation-free and a little bit warmer. And it's going to start a slow warming up. But first, what we're dealing with this morning, if you'll put up the first slide, is frigid temperatures that are impacting us both this morning and today, as well as in tomorrow. Again, tomorrow is going to be dangerously cold. Our places without power are now down to 653. Big thank you to the utility workers as this cold has come in. But if you cannot power and heat your home safely, tonight is going to be dangerous again. So make sure you find somewhere safe to stay. The cold is going to last all today into tomorrow morning, and then we're going to start warming up. So today, with the wind chill this bad, it's not just folks that have been impacted by flooding. It's everyone that needs to be careful to avoid frostbite. So in the next slide, if you have to be outside, please dress for the wind chill. Wear 2 to 3 layers of clothing with waterproof boots and a hat. Take the time to wrap up and to stay warm. Let's look at where we are on our river flooding. While we deal with this cold, many rivers still remain above the flood stage, so we believe that they have all crested. The Green River from Rochester to the Ohio will take longer to return to normal. That'll likely be the middle of next week. And the Ohio River responds slower. And that one is nearing its crest now. That's always the last one. Our next slide is again a reminder, never drive around barricades and do not drive through standing or running water. We had another rescue yesterday that happened when someone tried to drive their vehicle through a flooded area. Remember, you put your life at risk. I think there were 3 people in this vehicle, and you put the lives of the responders at risk. Don't go around the barriers. Don't drive through water. And if we can make sure we don't do that next time, we will lose fewer people than we saw this time. The good news with the weather is we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Again, the tunnel might be a couple days long, but better temperatures are coming. While it's still going to be very cold tonight, with temperatures ranging from 3 to 10 degrees, we're going to see the sun, and the temperatures will be around 30 degrees. Then Saturday through Monday, we're going to see temperatures move from the mid 30s to maybe nearly 60 degrees. That's great news. It's going to melt a lot of the snow. We don't expect that snow melt to significantly increase the riverbed flooding. But our response continues. The good news is our number of flooded and closed roads is down to 186. That includes 10 from mud and rock slides. And yesterday's sunshine helped state highway crews make progress on the snow. Additional snow overnight has crews in many counties still plowing, treating, or patrolling roads. They're going to keep going to keep you safe. Please give crews and emergency responders the time and the space that they need to restore vital transportation links and to keep us all safe. Remember the website, goky.ky.gov. That tells you where there are closures and where roads are reopening. As of this morning, over 230 National Guard remain actively deployed to provide critical support where it is needed the most. In eastern Kentucky, Guardsmen are focused on restoring road access in Leslie and in Pike counties, as well as transporting critical supplies that include water, food, and cleaning supplies to areas that remain hard to reach. Our Guard remains committed to assisting our communities and others until our recovery efforts are complete. Our Kentucky State Police has now answered 14,866 calls for service. Many of these calls are transitioning from weather-related to standard emergency calls. Good news is our state police posts report that they have not received any calls for missing persons related to the flooding. However, the lines remain open. If you know of a missing person, please call your local state police post. This is what we were hoping for, given that cell phone service didn't go down in the majority of areas, that people would be able to reach out and find their loved ones, and it appears that they have. Troopers have responded throughout the snow to 149 non-injury crashes, 18 injury crashes, 175 stranded motorists. Fortunately, no fatal crashes have occurred during this snowstorm. But remember, slow down. Slow down, and those numbers will go down. Kentucky Fish and Wildlife wardens remain diligent in their efforts, especially around the Woodsman Creek and Freeburn areas in Pike County. In Woodsman Creek, Clintwood Coal Company, in Woodsman Creek, the Clint Coal Company cut a road through their property, which allowed our game wardens to deliver essential supplies to 13 families. Thank you to that company. Thank you to our wardens for getting there. Today, in collaboration with the Red Cross, they'll continue their service by delivering meals to areas that are currently impassable to normal vehicle traffic. They'll utilize boats and off-road vehicles to deliver the meals. Both these areas are still in urgent need of food, supplies, and water, and our wardens are getting them, our game wardens are getting them those supplies. Our current death total remains at 14, though we believe there might be 1 or 2 added to that today. That's not the news we wanted. They are still under investigation, and we will provide an update when we have more information. Let's remember that's a lot of families for a flooding event. That's a lot of families that are hurting today. Please pray for them. Call the people that you know. If you know one of these families, reach out and help. There's going to be a lot of pain and a lot of hurt, and we're going to need to stand with them, not just today and tomorrow, but in the months and the years to come. That's part of the reason we established the Team Kentucky Storm Relief Fund to help those impacted by the floods and severe weather. Those who can, please donate at teamkystormrelieffund.ky.gov. There are a lot of good funds out there doing good work. This is the fully transparent one, operated through state government, zero administrative fees. Every dollar is going to go to families that have been impacted, fully transparent. People can reach out and see how every dime and penny is spent through a simple open records request. We currently have $199,280 in donations from 2,280 donors. Thank you. We now believe we'll have enough to cover each of the funerals, and now the dollars will be used for immediate needs and, depending on what's raised, potential long-term rebuilding. In addition to donating, Kentuckians can help by donating blood and making sure all of our hospitals have what they need in the days ahead. That's why the First Lady, Brittany, and I are going to be donating personally in the State Capitol Rotunda this Monday, February 24th. State employees and Frankfort residents can sign up for that blood drive too, and all Kentuckians and all Americans can find a place to donate close to home. You can look at governor.ky.gov/give-blood. Like we mentioned earlier, while we have some flood operation teams that are still out there, our search and rescue teams are winding down. Thank you for your service. Over 1,000 boat rescues, over 300 aerial rescues. What amazing work. There are so many Kentuckians alive today because of these amazing, well-trained and well-coordinated individual first responders. As we're sitting here, we're at 653 connections without power. That jumps up and down. Remember, your utility may have to cut off power in a certain area to do work to restore it to each home. Please be patient, but that is phenomenal work, given that we had a peak outage of 43,124. If there's a way that we were lucky in the midst of tragedy, it's that we didn't have a higher number of power outages. But that's digging deep to try to find a way that you're fortunate when you get hit by yet another natural disaster in such a short period of time. Drinking water. Good news is 0 systems are not operational. 21, though, have limited operations. We have 6,545 connections without water. That's come way down. 45,645 are under boil water advisory. Wastewater, 2 plants not operational. 25 limited operation. 12 are in bypass. 14 are reporting lift stations discharging and not operational. 218 people being sheltered at 4 state parks, and 17 shelters open across Kentucky. Let's make sure we put those up because it is going to be, again, really cold tonight. And if you can't find relatives or friends to stay at, please go online and find a shelter. We currently have them in Breathitt, Lawrence, Henderson, Pulaski, Knox, McCreary, Campbell, Caldwell, and the other counties that are up on your screen. How about some good news for today? You know, especially for Eastern Kentucky that has been hit hard, we wanted to provide some good news from our ongoing disaster recovery from the July 2022 flooding that is going to benefit those that have suffered in Eastern Kentucky from this disaster. Today, we're announcing that we're providing a $6 million grant to the Housing Development Alliance to build the first 32 homes at the Skyview subdivision in Perry County. This is a project we've been working on right outside of Hazard, where we're going to be able to build hundreds of new homes. We had to run the power. We're still working on the water and build the road. But this is the first major grant for housing construction. The good news, it's not just 2022 survivors, but 2025 flood survivors will be eligible for these homes and all of the housing options at our high ground sites. So this project we're already working on to move people out of the floodplain can benefit those impacted in 2021, 2022, and 2025. Our goal is that people don't have to go through this again, and we can have them in a safe place. We're encouraging all flood survivors to go to the housingcan'twait.org website. And when I was looking at announcing this, I was thinking about a lady I met when we were at Jenny Wiley that talked about the number of times she'd flooded and she just couldn't take it anymore. And she wanted a place and a home where she never had to worry about this again. I hope she and others go to housingcan'twait.org, fill out the forms. The folks from FAHI who are in the area, who care about you, will reach out and contact you to talk through your options. Finally, we've applied to Secretary Noem and President Trump for individual assistance. This would open immediate need in cleaning and sanitizing money. If we receive it, the max grants for the major program are $43,600. And while some might not qualify, many will, and you don't have to have a full loss to apply. You can have losses that are anywhere from a smaller amount up to that. I want to say a big thank you to our federal delegation. All our senators and all our congressmen came together in a bipartisan way to support this application. They sent a letter to the White House and to Homeland Security encouraging them to grant this federal assistance. It is necessary, and our people need it, and it's already so hard on them that this would relieve some of the financial obligation. Tomorrow, I'll be in a National Governors Association meeting at the White House where I expect Secretary Noem and others will be there. So I'm going to take our plea and our people's plea directly into the White House, answer any questions. Again, this administration's been working really well with us during this natural disaster. This is just the next step that we need from them, and I look forward to talking to them directly. I've said this over and over. My job is to be the best governor of Kentucky I can be. And what that means right now is talking to this administration and convincing them to grant that individual assistance for our all in this together. We'll get through this together. We will work together on the rebuilding. You've seen it. We're still working from 2021 on rebuilding the West. We never stop. We keep going until every family is helped, till every home is mucked out, till every child feels safe in the home they live in. And that's what we did in 2022 through the present. That's what we're going to do for all the families impacted here. We aren't going anywhere. We're going to stand right there with you. Now I'm going to turn it over to Director Gibson. He'll then turn it over to Secretary Gray, and then we'll answer a few questions. Thank you.
Well, good morning, and thank you very much, Governor, for the good update on all the good news that's going on and all the hard work that's going on. And that's really here for me today. That's what I hope to be able to continue to spread that message. A lot of heartache, a lot of hard times going on, but a lot of good things that are being done to help our Commonwealth recover from this. And just many, many thanks to all those involved at our local level, our state level, and the ones from FEMA that have come in very, very quickly to be of assistance to the Commonwealth. And I've taken many calls. Is FEMA here? What's, all those things about it. FEMA's been here since Sunday, working very, very hard to assist us. And their Swiftwater teams have been a very vital part of this recovery operation, or rescue operation, I should say. We continue to work day in and day out with them as we navigate this recovery and stabilization of what's going on with this disaster. Just a brief update on some of the things that I should cover. We have a full staff here in the EOC. We're still operational at level 1. FEMA's present with us. That means our federal partners are in the room with us today, along with all of your state agencies are represented, providing that assistance across the Commonwealth as those calls come in. We've taken many, many resource requests. I think we've processed over 350 requests from your county governments, city governments, things like that have come in. So we're still running through those calls. We're doing very, very well at answering those requests. We've shipped out over 25 truckloads of water to those counties that have been impacted, along with some meals and some blankets that have been requested. So we're doing everything we can to make sure we meet the needs if your county officials are sending those up. I've heard from many of your county officials as they start worrying about this next phase of this, as they've been through these disasters or similar disasters in the past. And as we talk about what's next, and that's what they're talking to me now, waiting on the declaration to move forward with, just what's their next step? What do they need to do? Collecting information. So I wrote a note for myself here this morning to talk about probably the most important thing at this point. If life and limb are safe, let's talk about the documentation necessary to convince and to prove the damage that occurred in your home or your town or your county. And I wrote that down. Document at this point. It's so important to continue to spread that message. If you're going to start your cleaning up, take a few seconds to snap a few photos, write down some things that you see that are damaged that you can make very valid points on. So we all know that's the process that we've been through before. If your roads are damaged, your house is damaged, whichever one it is, it's important to document that damage as we begin moving from this rescue to a more of a stable state where we can then get through the stabilization, providing the needed resources, and then we'll work towards recovery. And that's how this process is going to work. And so I'm just asking you to remember now, early on in this event, my staff have asked me to remind everyone to document the damages and take note of the things that you're doing or others are doing to assist you. Going through the list of things that have kind of come to the top of the page that we want to communicate about, we understand this has made a big mess, for lack of a better explanation. There are debris from the water and things like that. And I want you to know that we're aware of those debris and we're getting those calls about that debris. And we're starting that process of discussing that process with Corps of Engineers and how that's going to look as we start to assess at this point how much debris we're going to have to manage. So we understand that the county officials are concerned about that. We wanted to address it. Wanted to know that most of our USAR teams are starting to pull back. We still have one team that's very active down in Leslie County. They're going above and beyond doing work that even they're called in here to do these rescue operations. Yesterday, they just are stepping up. They run into a house fire in the middle of their operation for checking the welfare of people. We ask and just thank them for the hard work and the extra things that they're doing to look out for our people. And thank you very much. That's that Indiana Conservation Team, along with the Bowling Green Fire Department that were involved in that particular operation when they run upon that fire. So just above and beyond, I can't say enough about how much we appreciate the work that they're doing. As we continue to talk about shelters, our shelters are open, our shelter board's available. We're still taking calls on the rapid needs assessment line that we've been sharing with you all week long, and we continue to work through those calls, and we're trying to keep up with every single thing that comes in, making sure that we're there for your needs. So with that being said, the governor talked about it, and I think it's so important to talk about it again one more time. We continue to rescue people from floodwaters. As those waters rise, or the water's still standing, your car is still having trouble getting through that standing water. Please stop driving through standing water. We're seeing it on every news channel of all the local officials that are asking for the same thing, and we're just continuing to share that same message. If there's water over the roadway, don't drive through it. We continue to send rescuers into those calls, and just yesterday, as the governor reported, we had to rescue more people from standing water. Please stop and turn around. Don't drive through the standing water. Thank you very much. And over to Secretary.
Thank you. Governor, transportation topics already. Just to amplify a bit, we're down from 355 closures on state and federal roads to just north of 180 today. So that's good news. The waters are receding in many parts of the state. There are still challenges. We've got more than 2,300 highway department professionals, skilled and committed employees. They were working all night in many state locations, especially central Kentucky and east of I-75. Patrolling and treatment pre-dawn this morning occurred in all districts across the state. Now, the governor mentioned that the sunshine yesterday helped us with the snow removal. Extreme cold is still an issue, as was more of the snow earlier this morning, and it's continuing in eastern Kentucky. On top of flooded roads, moisture from water, the wind, mud, it's challenging and dangerous conditions with extreme cold, which of course lowers the effectiveness of our treatments and our salt. This is a big point. As these temperatures continue to plummet today and tonight, anything wet on the roads will potentially freeze and cause very dangerous conditions. Just know that we will keep working, focused on your safety. It's our top priority. And as the governor says, it's not just a catchphrase, it's from the heart. I want to thank again our dedicated, resilient force of snow fighters and flood fighters. And I want to acknowledge the leadership of the governor who keeps us on our toes all the time, and also Director Gibson and his staff at KYEM, remarkably talented and bringing people together on this mission. I also want to acknowledge and thank our partners, KSP, the Guard, fire departments across the state, FEMA, and our county officials and their road departments, who are our partners in every county in the state. Now back to the governor. Thank you.
All right, as mentioned, this will be our last formal update unless we have additional complications. We will put out by press release or on social media updates on some of the numbers that we hope to see coming down, like those without water or under boiled water advisory. We'll put out an update if our fatality numbers change. We're pretty much have restored power statewide when you look at the numbers that are there. So we'll continue to provide those updates in those other ways as they come in. All right, we have 4 journalists all on the line. We'll start with Stan from WEKU.
Thank you, Governor. I'd like to ask, how are things going with the legislature with securing funding for recovery efforts? And also, could you talk about FEMA's relationship with the state in dealing with these multiple disasters we've had recently?
So we have now gotten a couple of options to legislative leaders, at least in the Senate, of what our first proposal would look like. Want to give them time to look at it and to come back. Last time with the 2 SAFE funds, they made some changes, but they were good changes. So I hope that this is really collaborative. As I mentioned yesterday, we need an uncapping of the limitations on responding to natural disasters that was in this last budget for the first time, we think, ever. And then are going to need some form of SAFE fund to help in the aftermath, especially for cities, counties, and a couple of schools. But only positive things that I'd say right now, waiting to get feedback from them and wanting it to be a collaborative process because many of our legislators in leadership live in some of the counties that have been impacted. When it comes to FEMA, you'll see criticism that's out there, but I want to separate some of that by the phase in the work they do. FEMA is very good, in my opinion, in the search and the rescue phase. They have surged resources here and elsewhere. They bring in additional teams, and our people out in the state don't necessarily see that because they're not looking at the patch on someone's arm that's putting them in a boat and bringing them to safety. They're just grateful that they're getting to safety, but they are here and they are helping with that, and they make it so much easier to bring in outside resources. So in terms of saving lives, I think FEMA does a very good job and is very helpful for us here. I think where you've seen the criticism and some of the tough issues we faced in the past are when individual assistance opens up, how difficult it is to manage that process. FEMA did make 4 to 5 major changes on the ground in 2022 that helped, including moving some people from what they call the National Processing Center to on the ground. I strongly believe that final decisions need to be made on the ground, and that avoids that position where a FEMA representative looks at someone and says, your application looks good, and then it ultimately gets denied. And for somebody who's been through the worst, that's tough. But a lot of these restrictions have been put on FEMA by Congress and what their expectations are in terms of how it'll go. Listen, when individual assistance is approved, it means our families can qualify for money. And so while that comes with a difficult process, bring on the process. I mean, I hope we can make it easier. I hope we can make good changes this time, but I want our people to be able to at least seek dollars that will help them. And I think we figured out as a state different ways we can help in that process. And what I'd say to somebody who's going through it is it's tough. Keep pushing. Do not give up. You'll be frustrated, but at the end of the day, if money comes in to help you rebuild and dig out, we should want to go through that process. And I'll tell you what, we'll go through it together with the state right by your side. All right, Tom Latek, Kentucky Today.
Thank you, Governor. Good morning to all you there. Do you have any idea on when the individual aid may be decided upon?
I don't have a specific timeline. There is a process that they go through. I know that's going on right now. Applied for a certain set of counties, and then we will supplement the application with additional counties as the information comes in. That's happened in every natural disaster we faced, and in each one that I've been involved in that is qualified for individual assistance, additional counties have been added on for it, and that's the same for public assistance, for governmental assistance too. I'm going to have a chance to ask directly about that tomorrow, and this is the top of my list to talk about at the White House. This is my number one most important job for the Commonwealth right now, is to help those that have been through the worst, hopefully opening up this ability to get a little bit of financial aid. Karen Czar, WUKY.
Thank you, Governor. Good morning. Other than Jenny Wiley, are there any other shelters that you know of that have specific challenges getting people and supplies in and out? And then for several days now, many of us have asked you how crews on the ground are doing for so many different agencies handling the scope of this for days on end. I want to ask you, how are you and how is your staff?
Oh, well, that's kind. I'm okay. We've been through a lot of these, and every time you feel a little down, and how could we be going through another one again? You go out and you talk to the people that are directly impacted by it, and you see them having gone through this multiple times, wondering what they're going to do first. Talking to that next business owner that has seen everything wiped out in their small business, and say, where do I start? And that's when you realize that our job is to do everything we can to never get tired on this end and to always bring our very best, because no matter how many of these we go through, that next person that's harmed deserves everything we've got. And we can't get tired. And we can't get run down, because they deserve the very best. And no matter how often, we've got to make sure that that next family gets every service from the last time or the time before. I've got a great family to go home to. I've got a wonderful and understanding wife, two incredible kids that I live my life for, and a dog that kind of likes me, but definitely likes the First Lady a lot better. We do have a number of pockets and neighborhoods out there that are still only reachable by boat. What I will say is that the local EM officials have done an amazing job of managing those communities and working directly with the teams in the field to get them what they need. These EM managers and our judges, our mayors, they know every one of their communities by heart. And because of that, the coordination is there to get the supplies to the areas that need it. Okay, finally, Mason Brighton from Spectrum News.
Hi, Governor. Good morning. My question for you, you talked about options with legislators on getting money raised. Is there a possibility that we see a special session called to get funds to people quickly?
I guess it's possible that we have a special session, but I think we still have half of the days of the session to go. Certainly, it's my hope that we can get this decided on and passed sooner rather than later. My hope is that we can do it before the veto days. But again, this is a collaborative process. We just got some of the first numbers and estimates over to leadership. That was us needing to do our work to get to them. So we had the information longer than they've had it. Certainly, my hope is that we wouldn't need a special session for this, because we've done it before. We just need an uncapping, a changing of some of the language that was in the budget the last time, and then the creation of another safe fund. Again, we've done it twice. We think this one should be a little bit different just based on what we've learned. And there are even pots of funds from the last budget that may not be used that we could apply to this one. So I think those are the mechanics. Getting back the thoughts of legislators, making sure we have the language right, locating the funding in the way they want to use it, and then hopefully getting that passed and moving forward. But I only sense a willingness from everybody to work together, and that's what we see. That's what we see after these. We don't see the politics that we might see every other day, but we see people that want to do right by their people regardless of their party. All right, thanks to everybody watching. Thanks to everybody here in the EOC. Most importantly, thanks to everybody out in all of our communities that are still doing the hard work today.